the typical cycle of life is you go to school, you go to college, you get a good job, you save enough money to buy a house, start a family, and then you die.
Yeah.
That's so. What would you say to someone who's looking to break out of that cycle?
Yeah. So the thing is that cycle was actually a really good cycle. That's called the American Dream cycle, right? So that cycle is a really good cycle in like the 60s. So we get out of World War II in like 45 or something like that, and then they have the GI Bill, which was the number one thing that brought Americans from basically into the middle class. That was the number one middle class builder, in particular for white Americans, if I'm being honest. But the number one thing to bring people into the middle class. So the GI Bill had free education, all that. So back then, you graduate from college, and you get a job, you're in the middle class. On top of that, we also had a lot of union jobs and all that, and the union jobs and stuff like that didn't discriminate. So that's how majority of black people got into the middle class. That's when people were moving to Detroit, and because majority of black people lived in the South, and then they fled out to go to get factory jobs in Kansas City and Detroit and stuff like that, and that's what brought them to the middle class. Well, now those incomes did not rise with inflation and with the cost of living and the expense. So back then, a house cost, $75,000. A nice house cost $75,000, and somebody was making, $40,000. Now somebody is making $60,000, and the same house costs $600,000. So you can see that the disparity is a lot greater. So the thing is that if you graduate with a college degree, I think the average American makes $48,000. So if you graduate with a college degree, let's just say that you make slightly more than that, with 60,000. 60,000 really is not getting you far these days, right? So that dream no longer is a reality. That dream was a reality before. It's no longer reality today. For everybody can't be an entrepreneur. For us to have entrepreneurs, we have to have workers, right? Some people aren't built to take the risk, and that's fine. We love those people, right? Because those people, without our staff and without the support and the help or whatever, none of us can have a good business. And I hate when I see entrepreneurs say, "Oh, I'm self-made." There's no such thing as self-made. So because your dad didn't give you $100 million, okay, that doesn't mean you're self-made. There's mentors, there's people, there's also you know, for me, in my business, there's people who had major impacts in my business that I remember till today, and they probably don't even think about it. Like I have one, Tyler Baumgartner, who worked for me when I had one location, was my GM all the way till I had 4 locations. She had a major impact in the sense of she really cared and nurtured the business as if it was hers, and we were a team, and she really helped me scale to where I was. And when she left, was able to bring somebody else in the image of her to help scale even further, right? So it's really one of those things where your team is vital, and we need those people that don't want to take the risk and are willing to work as if it's theirs, and you have to be able to reward them, in kind, to get really good workers. Right now, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, which is great. The question is, are they willing to take the risk? Are they willing to take the amount of work? Are they willing to take the lack of pay? Because a lot of times people just see, social media is the devil and gives a false, depiction of what being an entrepreneur actually means. Because, everybody and their mom's on there. Everybody's making $10 million if you ask them, and, doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like the average entrepreneur, one is 80% of businesses fail within 5 years. The average entrepreneur is making nothing. Right? So we're really focusing on the 1 to 2% that are extremely wealthy, or maybe not even extremely wealthy, just wealthy in general. And that's the image of what people see when they're like, "Oh man, I have to break out of this, 9 to 5." And it's like, well, you're making $200,000 at your 9 to 5. I'd probably keep that, right? If you're unless you have a solid plan that's actually, going to work. But if you're making $30,000 at your 9 to 5, and you know that you have the skill set and you're willing to take a risk to try to, get more, what do you have to lose? You have $30,000 to lose. If you're making $200,000, you have $200,000 to lose. So when you're younger and when you make less money, you can really take the risk because you really don't have much to lose when it comes to doing it. So for me, starting the business at 21 years old was vital because I have no kids, I have no wife. If I failed, it took me 3 years before I failed, and I'm 24 years old when I fail, who cares? I'm starting. Most 24-year-olds don't have anything in their life figured out. So I'm starting where everybody else at my age is starting if I took from 21 to 23 on a failed venture. And I could start over again and do something else or go get a job or do whatever I have to do. So starting young is really key, honestly. Because trying to, when I have people in my DMs that say, hey, you know, 32 years old, I have 5 kids, I really want some advice. I don't know what advice. This is actually a real DM that I'm discussing right now. I didn't even respond, even though I almost respond to everybody. I didn't respond because I have no positive advice to give you. Because at the end of the day, you made some really poor life decisions deciding to have 5 kids at a young age when you can't afford it. So it's like you can't go and be an entrepreneur that could take the real risk because you have people that rely on you to eat that did not choose to come into this world. So when you don't have those anchors, those are positive anchors because kids are a blessing. But when you don't have those anchors that are relying on you, it's a lot easier for you to take the risk. But when you have that, it's a lot harder. I can't go tell you, hey, quit your job and go, start this business that you're not guaranteed to get paid on because you have people that rely on you. So it's a lot harder. So it just depends on when you're starting and how many people are relying on you.